Let's get started with a dynamic warm-up. We're gonna go through 5 exercises. We'll demonstrate those for you, and then you can work through your 2 rounds. We're gonna start down on the ground, maybe lay out a towel or a blanket like we have here for a little bit of extra padding underneath your hands and knees. Shoulders are gonna stack directly over top of your wrists, hips are stacked directly over your knees, and go ahead and relax your feet so the tops of your shoes are facing towards the ground. From here, we're gonna start with a T-spine rotation. So keeping one hand planted firmly, core engaged just slightly, we're gonna bring fingertips to the ear, and then raise your elbow towards the ceiling, rotating through that thoracic spine, and then reaching that elbow back towards the floor. Go through this motion 5 times, again, focusing on rotating just through that upper half of your torso rather than rotating all the way through those hips. 10 total, 5 on each side. Staying in that same position, we're gonna go right into what's called a cat camel. So you are mimicking what those animals, I guess, look like, right? So we'll go ahead and start by arching through that back, making that hump by tucking your chin and then tucking those hips underneath. And then let's go back the opposite direction, crown of your head and tailbone to the ceiling, really mobilizing that spine, really warming up that torso for some of the work that we're gonna be doing later. 5 total here. And then we're gonna again stay in the same position, moving right into what we call the fire hydrant. This is really to help open up those hips. So we are going to draw a circle with our knee. External rotation would be to lift the knee to the outside first and then shoot that leg out behind you, then bringing your knee back underneath your hips. 5 that direction, and then you do wanna make it an internal rotation as well, just simply moving the opposite direction. 10 on one side, 10 on the other side. Now our next one is gonna be a dynamic runner's lunge. So we are gonna add an overhead side reach. In order to help with posture, maybe grab something that you have at home. We happen to have a ginormous spoon. So we're gonna have John hold that over top of his head. That way his shoulders are gonna stay in the right position, ears stacked over that shoulder, over that hip, and then his front foot is gonna come a little bit further than that 90-degree angle that you're used to seeing. This way he'll be able to make it dynamic by shifting forward, opening up through that hip flexor while he's leaning over to the side. And again, by holding on to whatever object it is, maybe it's a towel for you, you'll be able to make sure that you stay in alignment. 5 one direction, and then 5 on the opposite side. One more exercise, we're calling this the plank to an alternating ankle reach. Get into your high plank position, again, shoulders stacked directly over wrists, feet are shoulder width apart, tuck that core or those hips under to engage that core, and then lift through your hips, reaching your opposite hand towards that opposite ankle. You're simply gonna go as far as you can for your range of motion, moving back and forth for 10 total, 5 on each side. 2 full rounds, 5 exercises. Let's get that body primed for the work that you're about to do.
If I had my time again, I'd do something about it. But it's too late, baby, and you're running on out the door. I never knew it'd come to this, never thought we clouded. But can you hold on, baby, just a little bit more? At the start, you were by my side and you were proud about it. When you looked into my eyes, I needed nothing more. I never knew it'd come to this, never thought we clouded.
8-minute total body strength block coming to you. So the big thing is that if you resistance train twice out the week, that's gonna help with that muscle activation and with your everyday life activities. So I have Jess right here.
Hi.
And she has her fork.
From my kitchen.
I like it, I like it. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. You're gonna start off with a neutral grip shoulder press. 8 reps each side, feet are gonna be hip width apart, that fork is up towards the ceiling. You're gonna press that fork up, lower down slowly. Nice and controlled, awesome job. 8 each side. After that, we're gonna move right into a single arm hip hinge low row. Same set position, but you're gonna send the hips back, engaging that core, make sure that back is nice and flat. Bringing that fork up towards your chest, lower right down. So one thing about this one, we're focusing on tempo. So quick 1 count up, pause, take 3 counts to lower down slowly. Awesome job. 8 on each side for that one as well. Then we're gonna move right into an overhead tricep extension. So same set position, arms start off straight overhead towards the ceiling. You're gonna lower that fork down behind your head. Great. Making sure those elbows are in towards your ears. Option just to decrease that range of motion. Last, we're gonna move onto the ground for a double crunch. So for this one, you're gonna make sure that back is nice and flat into your mat or to your towel. Shoulder blades are off the ground, engaging your core, making sure simultaneously you're extending your legs and your arms. Great, and then bringing it right back in, keeping those shoulder blades off the ground when you come in. Option here is to bend the knees. You're gonna just tap the feet onto the ground and come right back up. So you have 8 minutes to work. You're gonna see how many rounds you can knock out in those 8 minutes. Let's get started, guys.
a little bit of cardio. We're looking for 5 minutes of work here. Now, if you happen to have a treadmill at home, awesome, go ahead and use it. For those of you who don't and maybe have smaller spaces to work with, you can do something as simple as your favorite exercise for 5 minutes. One interval style we like using is 20 seconds of work to 10 seconds of rest of one exercise. So for example, you can do 10 total rounds of 20 seconds worth of squats with a 10-second rest in between. Now, a fun little game you can play with is count how many reps you do in that first round and see if you can hold on and match that rep count each time.
If I had my time again, I'd do something about it. But it's too late, baby, and you're running on out the door. I never knew it'd come to this, never thought we clouded. But can you hold on, baby, just a little bit more? At the start, you were by my side and you were proud about it. When you looked into my eyes, I needed nothing more. I never knew it'd come to this, never thought we clouded.
right, guys, so today you have a strength core block working to strengthen the trunk muscles, which is the foundation of all of your movements here. It's also going to help you decrease lower back pain. So Julia's going to go ahead and start on the ground. We're going for a lying hip raise, pressing the heels up towards the ceiling and pulling that belly button in towards the spine. Slow, controlled movement on the way back down. Perfect, Julia. Your option here is going to be to bend the knees just a little bit. Same movement, hips just lift a slight bit up and then come right back down. Immediately going into your bicycle. Your bicycle, you're going to have your hands behind the head. Opposite shoulder is going to reach to the opposite knee as you go through. 90-degree bend. You never want that front knee to come past the hip on the way in. 16 total from there. You're going to slip onto the side for a side plank hip dip. Pulling those hips up off the ground is going to be the most important part. A little tiny movement through the hips to drop down and then bring it right back up. Option here, bottom knee can come down to the floor, still keeping that hip up and moving through that oblique, squeezing on the side. Last one, we're going to turn you all the way onto your stomach, Julia. Hands can come right in front of the face there. Really pinch those shoulder blades, slight lift up, just like the hips slightly lift up, and then slight on the way back down. Really controlling the movement here. You have 8 total. You're going to do this for 2 rounds, 8 of everything, 16 total on your bicycle.
During the next 5 minutes, we're gonna focus on elevating our heart rate to strengthen our heart and to boost our mood. We're gonna focus on 40 seconds of work followed by 20 seconds of rest for a total of 5 rounds, equating to 5 minutes. All right, so what we're going to do is a broad jump to a shuffle. Our standing set position is gonna be with our feet a little bit wider than hip width apart, standing up nice and tall with our shoulders down and back. From here, we're gonna sink down heavy on our heels in a half squat, explosively jump our feet as far forward as we can, staying heavy in our heels, stepping 4 steps back as we shuffle and resetting at the top. 40 seconds of work, 20 seconds of rest, 5 total rounds. Let's have some fun.
If I had my time again, I'd do something about it. But it's too late, baby, and you're running on out the door. I never knew it'd come to this, never thought we clouded. But can you hold on, baby, just a little bit more? At the start, you were by my side and you
worked our sympathetic nervous system throughout the workout as we elevated our heart rate. Now it's time to upregulate our parasympathetic nervous system to bring our heart rate back down and to cool off our bodies. We have 4 stretches coming at you, 20 seconds on each side. Ready, Ange?
Ready.
All right, our first stretch is going to be Cobra. We're gonna lie face down on our comfy mat or towel, bringing our hands directly at the sides of our chest as we lift our chest up off the ground till our range of motion allows, really stretching out that core. 20 seconds holding here. From there, we're gonna go into child's pose, where we're gonna bring our big toes together, pull our knees out a little bit wider than hip width apart, let our torso sink between the knees as we extend our arms, relaxing our head. Holding this for 20 seconds, our third stretch is going to be an angled child's pose, where we shift our hands a little bit to the right, feeling that nice deep pull and stretch along our side, and then switching it to the other side for 20 seconds. Our fourth stretch is going to be our seated toe reach, sitting up nice and tall on our sit bones as our legs are extended, feet are flexed, and just keeping her back nice and flat as she extends her arms straight out in front of her, hinging at her hips until her range of motion allows, slowly lowering her hands down once she feels that stretch in her hamstrings and her calves. Let's start getting that body cooled down.